And we're live.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host again, Coach Jibs. On this fabulous Monday, I have the boys back and reunited. I have Coach Steve, fresh off the heat drubbing of my Knicks. And I have Coach John in the sunny state of Florida. How are we doing this week, guys?
Doing good. No issues,
I'm feeling great.
Good time of year, right now. The summertime here in Jersey.
Playoffs, everything. I know the NFL's about to start turning over and whatnot. The only sad thing I know that's coming up is our loss of hockey and basketball, and we're just a little stuck with the dreaded baseball, the dog days of summer. But we have NFL training camps and we got NBA free agency, so I'm happy for those two things. But today, guys, we're going to do a rookie mock draft. We're actually going to do two of them. We're going to do one for regular 1 QB leagues, and we're going to do another one for super flex leagues. So I don't know which one we're doing first, but hey. But before we do all of that, we're going to get into the news.
We got some stuff.
And I know mid-free agency, Foster Moreau is designated with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that kind of paused him getting signed, but he finally gets signed with the Saints for a 3-year, $12 million deal. And then everyone's favorite guy from last year, probably not favorite, but Jared McKinnon, a thorn in our sides for many weeks, re-signs with the Kansas City Chiefs in that loaded backfield. So those are two news bits, guys. If you want to go off on either or, you feel free to do so.
The Jerick McKinnon signing, to me, the word was he was going to re-sign. They just wanted to get through the draft, see what happened, see if anyone fell to them that they really liked. I think if Jahmyr Gibbs slid all the way to KC, probably wouldn't have signed Jerick McKinnon. But it shows a lot of confidence in Isaiah Pacheco, shows confidence that they like what they had last year, end of that season. So you're going to get a lot of the same. I think Jerick McKinnon for redraft purposes is great in PPR formats, is a good flex play. And if you're a contender in Dynasty, I know I just shipped them off for a early third. So, early third, late second, mid third, you can go get yourself Jerick McKinnon, who I think is going to be a very solid piece next year. The Foster Moreau signing, to me, I just like that it was 3 years. It shows that the Saints have faith in his health and his condition. So, if he signed a 1-year kind of incentive-laden deal, I'd be a little bit more nervous. But, I don't know what the offense and what the pass catchers are going to look like. But Foster Moreau is interesting. Doesn't, fairly – they have a plethora of tight ends in New Orleans, so we'll see how it shakes out. But Foster Moreau is interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely a good story to see Foster Moreau. I know he had some kind of disease. I forget what it was offhand.
Hodgkin's lymphoma, I believe.
Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yes, that's exactly what it is. So good to see him be able to sign a 3-year deal with the Saints. Again, I don't see it as anything major. We'll wait to see. I mean, they do have Juwan Johnson, who I really like there. So he's kind of like probably a low-end tight end too. Jared McKinnon's definitely going to be good in redraft, good in for contending dynasty leagues, because he's probably going to see work in the passing game again. Probably hurts any chance of Clyde Edwards-Helaire really having big value at all, or at least rebound value this year. So that definitely hurts, but we'll see what McKinnon can do. He was really good as a pass-catching back for this Chiefs team. So
yeah, and the truth will be told, because both these players are splitting their rooms respectively. So, and we never know what these offenses entail, especially the Kansas City one, because they also have a bunch of wide receivers and that guy named Travis Kelce. All right. So, guys, the NFL scheduler was released last Thursday, and we're going to go one by one through these topics. And we're going to start off with
mostly it's just I forget what we said I was going to do. Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. All right. Well, starting with number one, there's mega bye week issues. We have week 7 and week 13, which is our bye week NATO or bye NATO the fantasy community calls it, which are 6 teams on a bye each. That's pretty much like more than half the league, which is wild collectively. And then the mini bye weeks are in week 9. You have Chiefs, Dolphins, Eagles, and Rams. Number 2, week 14 isn't a major impact like it was last year when we had the Colts and the Eagles and I think Patriots too, who were on buys. So Cardinals and Commanders, we have 6 international games, so we got to be up early, guys, and setting them fantasy alarms Saturday night, especially West Coast guys. Don't stay out the bar too late. Number 4, the Jets, Saints, Steelers, Bears each have 2 Thursday night games, but I know they're going to get flexed because those quality opponents probably don't sound good. And then for our number 6, our fantasy playoff schedule, some good teams are the Las Vegas Raiders, Tennessee Titan running backs, New York Jet running backs, Miami wide receivers, Green Bay wide receivers, and San Francisco tight ends. And some of the bad playoff schedules will be the Giants, I'm guessing running back, Seattle, quarterback, Seattle running backs, New Orleans running backs, New York Jets wide receivers, Tennessee wide receivers, they don't have any, and then New York Giants tight ends. So I know that was a mouthful, and you probably will have changes, and you'll probably just kind of get this information just like reiterated to you as the season progresses or as we get close to it. But definitely take some notes, and don't let the schedule impact your decisions too much, so you still want to get the best players you can available in each round. So, and now we're going to do the mock draft. So I'm going to let Coach Steve handle the wheel on this one. I don't know which draft we're doing first. I'm assuming it's Superflex since that's majority of leagues.
I forget which one I said first. Let me look at the doc. Superflex will be the first one we start with here. So
perfect.
Right.
I will pull that up right now. Share window. Oh, tab. Here we go. I think this one's it. Let's see. Yes, this is it. Awesome. Cool.
My screen bigger.
Maybe we could do it like that. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
I can bring this down. Hide this. There we go. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. Cool. So, yeah. Like Jib said, we're doing 2 mock drafts today, guys. What's up, Kyle?
You, Kyle.
Kyle's in here with us. Couldn't get a lot of people in here last moment. That's my fault. But we're still going to have quality picks probably, and the ADP for Sleeper is pretty solid for the most part. So we're going to go through it. It's going to be real quick. We're going to go through this draft. We'll talk about our picks, and then we'll kind of talk about quickly each round that we like, or, a player in each round, a player we don't like in each round, things like that. So I will start the draft then. Let's see. And we're live. We're not live. Now we're live. Coach Shiv, you're on the clock, brother. What you got with the first pick? Pretty
you can just Bijan Robinson. I don't know if my draft room is working, but yeah, pick Bijan for me. Obviously, he's the best player, guys. You don't have to really think too much about this. I know if you're probably a QB DB team, I still would not pick Bijan because you could turn him into a plethora of quarterbacks if you need to. So, easy. First pick in the Superflex.
All right. So after that, obviously Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young off the board. It's kind of standard in terms of most rookie drafts that these quarterbacks are in there. So, and now we're on to Coach John. Coach John, you're the 4th pick. Why'd you go that direction?
So I went with the 104 because I've kind of struggled with this spot. I think it's one of the harder spots to draft out of. And it actually, for a super flex, fell exactly how I wanted. If I can get CJ Stroud at the 104, I feel comfortable in the super flex draft. I'm happy with it.
I like it. All right. I like it. Definitely. That's kind of how the standard of this rookie drafts go, kind of. I mean, obviously, these are the first 4 picks off the board. I went with a little something different here because usually the 5th pick is the guy who I did not take, but I went with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I like the longevity of his career. Jahmyr Gibbs is already hurt in OTAs. Don't love to see that already. So getting Jackson Smith and Jigba here, I feel like he has that upside of a true wide receiver 1 that is easily able to get, and he's going to be here for the long haul. I'd rather take the 8 years with him than the 4 or 5 years with Gibbs, possibly. So, and then Jahmyr Gibbs off the board, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison. Boy Kyle takes Zay Flowers at the 109. Will Levis, Zach Charbonnet, and Dalton Kincaid finish off round 1. So in the round 2, Gibbs, you got who'd you go with?
I went with Kendre Miller. It's one guy I haven't gotten a chance to get just so far in these rookie drafts for me. I do like his draft capital to a degree. I think he was a third round pick, barely. Kamara's obviously getting older. There's legal issues surrounding him. So I think he could be in a good spot for this year. And then obviously the future, we never know. But like I'm hoping that he could be a running back for the Saints for a couple of years. If not, like he has a good first year and whatever, and you flip him for whatever you can get. So
definitely a solid pick there. And then following that pick at the 202, Jonathan Mingo, Marvin Mims, and Coach John's on the board at 204. What do we got there?
Well, Rashee Rice. I was looking at Devon A-Chain, but I love the landing spot. I love the situation, but I still just struggle with taking him high in the second with that size profile. And I understand he's going back of the first, early second, so I just won't be grabbing much A-Chain. So I went with Rashee Rice, who I think is set up to be in a good offense, in a good situation, high upside player. So I would have loved Jonathan Mingo, but he sadly was gone.
Yes, unfortunately. Following that, I had the next pick here at the 205. I took Devon A-Chain. I felt at this point of the draft here, it was good value for a running back that has potential to be a week one starter, or at least by mid-season be the full-time starter for this team. Now, there's still rumors about, Dalvin Cook to Miami, but I'm going to just say, you know what, don't care. Still taking A-Chain. They took him with decent draft capital. So I like him at the 205. Following that, Micah Mayer went at the 206. Hendon Hooker went at the 27. Tajay Spears. Roshan Johnson went to the 109 to our boy Kyle. After that, Josh Downs, Jalen Reed, and Chase Brown. Off the board here, finished off round 2. In the beginning of round 3, Jibs, where did you go here at the 301?
I think I took Hank Bisbee, running back prospect. Coach Steve's been in on him like every draft I've seen on him. So like, if Coach Steve has a good feeling about a player, I must follow because I definitely missed out on a couple of prospects. But nonetheless, I know Jacksonville's main running back is Travis Etienne, but like there is a slight role for a second running back, and he has the athletic traits and a profile I do like.
Yes, he's getting a lot of. I know it's early, but he did get some good standouts in Jags mini camp or rookie camp so far. So that's great to hear that. Following that, Sam Laporta off the board, Darrell Washington off the board, and John, over to you at the 304. What direction did you go?
So it's funny, we've talked about this, inside text and stuff, but I really don't like the 3rd and 4th round much at all in these rookie drafts as I get into it. I took the only player I think who has significant sort of upside chance in Keishon Butte. There is a chance he could come out and become, dominate and be the alpha, be the number 1 for this team, soak up 100+ targets. I don't think they're going to be high value targets. I don't think Mac Jones is all of a sudden going to start chucking the ball down the field, but Booty's, good enough with the ball in his hands that he can make a lot happen. So if you're going to give him 100+ targets on any offense, I'll take it. So that's kind of where I went. I don't love the tight ends after Kincaid and Laporte went. So that stinks. And then running backs, you're at absolute dart throws at this point. So I'd rather take my dart throw there, the wide receiver.
I respect that. So I had the 305 obviously here, so keeping score of where we're at in these drafts here. I took Jalen Hyatt. I figured at the draft capital and the proceed talent that was prior to the NFL draft in round 3 is not as much risk involved. He has the potential to be the Giants wide receiver 1 for this team, or at least the wide receiver 2, and an offense that kind of doesn't really have a true, wide receiver or true pass catching number 1 option yet. So he could make a role for himself early if he gets that opportunity. And in the 3rd round, makes a lot of sense. Following that, the 306, we do really have Cedric Tillman. Luke Musgrave comes off the board. Brenton Strange comes off the board. At the 3-9, our friend Kyle is on the clock right now. Let's see which direction he goes. Oh, he says there's still one fan I really like, and he took Luke Schoonemaker from the Dallas Cowboys here at this point. Love to hear that. That's a great option there late in the 3rd round. Following that, Israel Adebakande goes off at the 310, who a player I really like. I wish I could took him before. Stetson Bennett comes off the board at 311. Michael Wilson comes off to finish round 3. Now, Jibs, you are into round 4 here. Are you taking a 4th running back on your team?
Should I?
You tell me.
I don't know. All right, well, maybe I
Ground and
should.
pound, baby.
Kyle said he does have Luke Shoemaker ahead of Mike Mayer on his tight end depth chart.
All right, let's get another one.
Very interesting.
Hold up.
No problem. So obviously, Coach Gibbs took Zach Evans there while he comes back. Obviously, Zach Evans signed with was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams, a player who I wasn't too high on personally, but there is a pathway for him to be the backup to Cam Akers, or you never know, could end up getting some starting time for the Rams. So that was a pick for Coach Gibbs there.
Yeah, and you never know. Like Cam Akers was in that doghouse in and out last year. He has a long injury history, so hey, I'm just shooting for the moon. It's a 4th round. I could have took like Tank Dell or something, and then like hope for the best. But you never know. Like we've seen 4th round. I wouldn't say 3rd, 4th round running backs, but like some of these running backs emerge. So I'm taking my bet with Evans.
Of course. And then following that, Deuce Vaughn off the board here at the 4-2, followed by Eric Gray. Dwayne McBride comes off the board. Oh, my bad. Coach John, who did you take at the 4-4?
I went with Dwayne McBride, and I went with Dwayne McBride. No surprise here. I find myself in the 4th round. If I don't trade the pick, I grab Dwayne McBride just on the hope that there is a chance Dalvin Cook gets traded, and his value immediately shoots up, and I'll just put him for a future pick. So that's been my strategy. I either trade away my 4th round pick for, some depth piece or whatever, or I'll take McBride and hope it becomes a lottery ticket.
I like it. Obviously, hopefully Dalvin Cook is traded because that's going to be a big thing for his success this year, at least. Following that, the 405, I took Xavier Hutchinson, Houston Texans wide receiver here. Been a big fan of drafting him in the 4th round. Big-bodied wide receiver, something kind of a little bit different than what they really have on their team. I think his talent could end up being a shocker to a lot of people by the time, training camp gets here and he ends up as the top 3 on the depth chart by the time the season rolls around at that point. So take him in the 4th round. I feel like there's very low risk, but a good upside because they do have a franchise quarterback now. So we'll see how that works. But I do like his ability to maybe make himself a name on this Houston wide receiver corps. So
it's funny. I've been filling up depth charts lately, and I think there's a real chance Xavier Hutchinson could be like the 1 or 2 on that depth chart sooner rather than later. Like Nico Collins is really the only one stopping you. So it could happen fast. I like this pick. It's a good pick in the 4th.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Darrell Thompson-Robinson off the board at the 4-6. Evan Hall, Jaron Hall off the board at the 4-8. Our friend Kyle's on the clock here now. Let's see which direction he goes. Tucker Kraft, love that late round pick there, obviously. 3rd round pick from the Green Bay Packers as a tight end. Has every opportunity to start, just like his other player, Luke Musgrave.
No, he went with Tank Dell. He went with Tank.
Yeah, the Tank.
Oh, did I miss out?
He went with the route running tactician, Tank Dell.
He took the other Houston. My bad. My eyes must be killing me. I don't know. He took Tank Dell. I apologize. Yes, the small 5'6" wide receiver to team up with Xavier Hutchinson. Again, late round pick. CJ Stroud wanted him. Makes a lot of sense late in the 4th. And then Tucker Kraft went because you took one Houston receiver. I took the other. Yes, you did. Will Mallory off the board at the 4-11, and the finish off the draft, Clayton Tune comes off the board here. So we do have a good 8 minutes before we get into the 1 QB draft to see kind of how different that looks in terms of you playing in a super flex and a 1 QB league. So let's go quickly. 1st round, anything that stands out to you guys in the 1st round of this draft?
Zach Charbonnet at 111. I mean, I know it's still kind of the computer and whatnot, and it's going off ADP, but I find myself, I think the Zach Charbonnet, I love Zach Charbonnet as a talent, but I just think fantasy production is going to be capped because, I mean, they have 2 superstar running backs in that backfield now. So, I mean, unless you really think it's going to be a Kamara and Mark Ingram type situation, like I'm not spending a 1st round on Zach Charbonnet. I'm not doing it. I'd rather trade that pick and get future assets or do something like, I don't know. I've been having trouble, and I love the talent of Zach Charbonnet. I'm just having trouble with him creeping up into the 1st round. 2nd round, you're at the 202, 203, you want to take a shot on the talent. That's fine. But 1st round for me, I want guys that are probably going to produce right away. and then can develop into something more. If you can't produce right away, I don't know if I want to waste a first round pick on you. That's just my opinion. That's just kind of how I feel. But everything else makes sense. All the other players are all makes sense. Will Levis in a super flex, makes sense. You got the three pack of the big quarterbacks gone right away. I mean, it all looks kind of chalk.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's just take your pick of what receiver you like better, if you're Addison guy or your Quentin Johnson guy. And then obviously Zay Flowers is usually last out of the group. But yeah, first round looks pretty solid. Can't really say much. Quarterbacks are in the right order according to me. So
yeah. I mean, it's a pretty much what I've seen in most of my leagues. That's this rookie draft so far in the first round. And I'll make a counterpoint to Zach Charbonnet. They drafted him in second round capital. I know they did that with Kenneth Walker last year, but maybe there's a reason why they did that. He is a better pass catching back. Kenneth Walker was able to do that last year, but maybe they don't like exactly what he was able to do in those situations. So, I mean, it could be a 50-50 split. And I know it's a little early. I get that, but I mean, you never know. They could end up just trading Kenneth Walker away after the season here. And then Charbonnet is like the number one RB in this team now. So it's a wait and see. We'll have to hope for the best at that point, but I get not taking him in round one. So round two here, guys. How do you feel about round two? Was there something that stuck out for you guys in round two?
Man, Josh Downs going ahead of Reed is an interesting one. But again, it's a little tougher because it's computer and it goes by ADP. But I would take all the conversation and hype around Green Bay has been that this kid Reed is, a superstar. They got a plan for him. It's basically him and Christian Watson. So I'm rising a little bit more. But the rest of it, seems fair. Hendon Hooker, middle of the second. You're going to have to obviously wait and see on that. But I think he's set up really well for Superflex in the future. It's the second round. And it's funny. And now we're going to watch. I think it drops off in terms of like talent pretty quick after the second round.
So, Shibs, anything you want to mention? You don't have to.
I really don't have it. Like, it's just like I feel like after you get pretty much past that, like the second half of round two, everything's just like up for debate and up for grabs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, based on the ADP that I have on my rookie drafts, this is for the most part what you're looking at for round two. You're going to get 3 or 4 running backs, 4 or 5 wide receivers off the board. You're going to get Hendon Hooker off the board, Mike Mayer. At times, we'll talk about some of those other guys in round 3 that kind of go in round 2. Seeing Chase Brown go in round 2 at the end, I haven't seen him do that in most of my rookie drafts. So seeing him do that was very interesting. I don't really think anyone else really is too far out of place for me. Tajay Spears is definitely an interesting case, but I mean, and mid to late round 2, it's not a bad risk at that time. And at one point he was going late round 1. Late round 2 is definitely a much better feel in terms of risk factor. So definitely. Kyle said he would take Miller and A-Chain in the round 1 instead of Will Levis and Zach Charbonnet. So
yeah, I would see, like, that's the thing. Like, I would probably have taken Mingo over Charbonnet, but again, 6 and 1. It's also team need. Like, do you need a running back? Do you not? But I just think if you were in a vacuum, I think Mingo will have a longer and more, maybe not as big of a ceiling as Charbonnet could potentially have, but Mingo is a safer bet to hit, safer bet to see playing time week 1. Like, he's another one that's gonna suck up 100+ targets year 1. So, that's helpful. That's very helpful as like a wide receiver 3 on your team, and then with the chance that he develops into more.
Right, makes sense. Over to round 3, guys. How do you guys feel about round 3? Anyone that stuck out to you that you liked, you didn't like, whatever?
Practically all the tight ends getting picked. I think that's a little obscene.
That was a big tight end run, that's for sure.
Big tight end, the big tight end run. I think this 3rd and 4th round, my advice to anyone and everyone is don't worry about ADP. Don't worry about just trust your process, trust your talent, trust what you think, and make a bet on someone like Xavier Hutchinson. Make a bet on that guy and just pick him. Just don't wait and try and play this ADP game of, oh, maybe this person will fall to me here. It's like these guys are such dart throws at this point that just take the guy you like and hopefully it works out. That's kind of what I've been doing with these third and fourth rounders. If not, trading them for guaranteed production. I traded a third for Jamal Williams, stuff like that. Give me guaranteed production. I'm not in love with a lot of these third and fourth round players.
No, I got you. Definitely. So is anything you want to mention?
Yeah, it's just I would say if you look at this draft, so I guess at least rounds 3 and 4, if you kind of just swap some of these tight ends down and you move we'll say from Israel A up to Dwayne McBride, you probably get a better picture. But obviously you at the end of these rounds you also want to shoot for some unknown, and I do like Stetson Bennett. I know he's not really a phenomenal prospect by all means, but his situation could be good. Mm-hmm. And as that being a 35th pick in a super flex draft, that can pay off. So I do like his spot there. Mm-hmm. I'll say.
Yeah, it's so funny because I've seen Bennett go in drafts and he either goes in late third round or just goes undrafted. It's so funny. But I think a lot of the running backs from the third and fourth rounds here, I feel like there was good value. I love Tanks Bigsby at the 3-1. I like Israel Adebakande at the 3-10. I like all the running backs who went in round 4. Getting them in round 4 is great value at this point because you're not wasting you're not wasting a third round pick on them. Fourth round picks are basically just pick your player and then hope for the best. And all of these players have that. I've seen a lot of Deuce Vaughn go in the middle of third round, so seeing him in the late fourth round, definitely a pretty good steal. A lot of tight ends off the board here. For the most part, I think the only one for me that made a lot of sense where they actually went is Sam Laporta. I feel like I've seen Washington go in the 4th. I've seen a lot of those other 3, Musgrave, Shoemaker, and Strange all go in the 4th round at some point. I like Tucker Kraft at the late in the 4th round. That's definitely a good haul. Yes, Evan Hall at the 4-7 is definitely great value, Kyle. The wide receivers, again, they were all pretty for the most part. The only one I didn't like is Coach John's with his wide receiver. That's the only one I didn't like in Booty. But I just don't like him still, even in that early third. But no, I get it though. But for the most part, this is what you're looking at. You're probably not going to see as many quarterbacks off the board until after the draft because you saw Thompson, you saw Hall, and you saw Tune all go in the 4th round more times than not. They're probably not going to get drafted, and they're going to be a rush to get all these backup rookie quarterbacks on teams following the rookie draft. So your rookie draft. So keep that in mind there overall, how these superflex drafts are going to go. And now we're going to switch over to the 1 QB and see how different and how many less quarterbacks go at that point. So you boys ready to do this one?
Yep. Let me just pull it up.
And let me just let me get out of the screen share. Let me redo the screen share let me get rid of the other one. There we go. All right. And there's only one left here. Let's do it. All right. Oh, we have an extra person. Gator Raiders in here with us. Hey, hopefully he drafts. So, all right.
There.
Huh?
I said he was there.
He was there. So I'm going to make the clock 1:30 because I thought we might have more people in here. So since, he moved. So we'll give us more time to talk about each of our picks. I don't know why there's 4 rounds. Okay. So let's start the 1 QB draft here now. This might look a little different. And not for Coach Gibbs. He is he's still taking. Go ahead, Gibbs. Tell us what up.
It's Bijan Robinson, number 7. That's all you need to know.
It might be even more of a clear-cut thing than any ever in a 1 QB league. You take Bijan Robinson with the 101 no matter what. So, following the 101, obviously, the 102, Jackson Smith and Jigba off the board at the 102. Again, it's basically just take the 3. It's just basically like Superflex. You just take the 3 quarterbacks out and push them back to the end of round 1. So that made a lot of sense. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs off the board at the 103, and then Coach John had the 104 in this draft too. So where'd you go there, Coach John?
I went with Jordan Addison. I'm gonna stick with my pre-draft process, my scouting, and my film and grades. And Jordan Addison, I had at number 1. He lands in a great situation. He's opposite He's opposite one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in football. So it's going to give him a ton of open looks, ton of open coverage, and he's talented enough to dominate. So I think I think Jordan Addison is in a good spot to produce year one. And, the future the question is going to be quarterback in the next year or two, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, definitely. So following the 104, we had the 105 with Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers. I had the 107. Definitely feel like this is a pretty tough part of the draft. This is like the 110 range of a super flex draft here. So obviously the Dalton Kincaid, the Zach Charbonnet, Devon A-Chains here, Kendry Miller range of basically where you would get at the late half of a super flex draft. See, this is where I'm concerned. I want to go with the quarterback here, but I'm just going to take Dalton Kincaid still. I'm hearing a lot of good things about him and where he's getting lined up constantly out in the slot a lot of times here. That's going to be big if that ends up being true here. So I like him at the 107. I think he ends up having a pretty decent season, especially if he gets that slot work more times than not. After that, obviously, Zach Charbonnet. I can't say his last name for my life. But Charbonnet. Okay, Zach Charbonnet off the board at the 108. Kendry Miller at the 109. Our friend Kyle is at the 110 in this draft here. He took Anthony Richardson. Makes a lot of sense here at this point. Obviously, I think because of his skill sets as a rusher, taking him in late round one makes a ton of sense because he acts more than just a quarterback. He's going to give you that rushing floor as well. Devon A-Chain off the 111 and Jonathan Mingo at the 112. Now, Coach Gibbs, you're back at the 2-1. Where are we going?
A running back, baby. I'm going to take Rashee Rice. I know. I was just joking. I'll take Rashee Rice. Just looking at KC's receiver room, like he's definitely a different breed. And I was listening to the radio and we probably discussed it on this podcast. Like he's just different from what they have there. Andy Reid doesn't really draft big receivers. He's more of the speedy guys, the catchy guys. But I think Rashee Rice could be a problem with Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it'll be this year, but with the talent they have right now, he could definitely fly up that depth chart.
Yeah, definitely. I like that there. Definitely could be the big slot receiver for them this season. So after that, Marvin Mims, who I really like, went off the board at the 2-2. Love that. Michael Mayer went off at the 2-3. Coach Sean, you're up here. Where are you at?
I know. I don't really like how this is falling so far, but we'll figure it out. I'm gonna go with Jaden Reed. I don't love it, but I do think it's a little rich for Jaden Reed. I'd rather be a few picks back, but I didn't love the running backs in that spot. I was too early to take Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, so I'm doubling up with just another talented wide receiver. I think kind of shotgun approach between him and Addison. One of these two will develop into a legitimate top 20 guy. So out of those two, I feel happy.
No, Kyle said he likes your pick, John, but he is.
Thanks, Kyle.
He is a biased Packers fan, so I don't know how much I'm taking that into consideration.
I'll take any accolades I can get. I'll take it from a biased Packers fan.
Yeah. Kyle did also mention in the chat he'd probably take Young and Stroud over Richardson in a super flex compared to a 1 QB, but in a 1 QB, the upside in Richardson makes sense. But yeah, you could definitely argue that for sure. I think it also depends on super flex who your other quarterback is. If you're weak at quarterback, you might want to take the safety. If you're good at quarterback but need another guy, Richardson makes more sense in that sense, but definitely don't hate that. So following the Jalen Reed pick at the 205 now, Bryce Young off the board, Tajay Spears off the board at the 2-6. And now I'm up at the 2-7 here. I'm obviously taking my boy Tank Bigsby, who I was just all hyped about before. I think he's going to end up being a pretty shared role with Travis Etienne this year. I don't think Travis Etienne can hold up for a whole 17-game season. Tank Bigsby is going to keep as a nice complement to Travis Etienne on the field here and should have a role in this offense. And an offense that is looking up and people wanting to buy into this offense now with Trevor Lawrence obviously taking that next step in his development. Following that, Josh Downs off the board, and then CJ Stroud off the board at the 2-8, 2-9. And our boy Kyle is up on the board at the 2-10 and see the direction he goes here. He takes Roschon Johnson, makes a lot of sense here, obviously. Running back for the Chicago Bears now, obviously has an opportunity to start week one, or he's in a battle at least for week one starting possession role. there. So we'll see how that works off. And then obviously Sam Laporta off the board, Chase Brown off the board at the 212 once again. So Coach Gibbs, you're back up to the 3-1. Where are we going from here?
Running back. I took Jalen Hyatt, just like you said on the last draft. Like the draft capital that he has and the Giants wide receiver room is pretty laughable. After you get past Sterling Shepard, I know there's a lot of players with the speed trait, but I think he could be utilized best. So I'll just go with that compared to these 5th and 6th round running backs.
All right. I like it. All right. So following the Jalen Hyatt pick, the 2-2, Zach Evans off the board by Gator Raider, Cedric Tillman at the 3-3. And now Coach John, you're up here.
I don't want to do it again, but I'm gonna, because I just find myself doing it every time. I'm gonna take Kayshon Boutte again. I just think, again, I don't love like that. I'm just piling up wide receivers, but the talent is falling to me, so I'll take it. Like I talked about last draft, I think that there is a chance Boutte steps up. I'm not scared of Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not scared of Tyquan Thornton. I'm not scared of anyone else on that depth chart. So if Boutte does establish himself in minicamp and does establish himself in preseason, he could easily be a 100+ target guy his rookie year. So I'll take that in the 3rd round.
All right. Again, you know how I feel about your pick. So
yeah, I mean, it's a wait and see type sitch right now.
I like it. All right. So Evan Hall goes off the board early on this time at the 3-5. Will Mallory went up pretty early here at the 3-6. I'm at the 3-7 here. And I am going to take my guy, Israel Adebakande, here with the 3-7 here. I just makes a ton of sense with Breece Hall coming back from an ACL tear. You don't know if that's going to be week 1, heavy workload off the bat, or maybe it might take a month or 2 before he really gets that full workload back. Adebakande can go in there and take some of this workload off his plate and actually produce with it. He's a really good pass catching back here that could be very beneficial for Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, we saw Aaron Rodgers do things with Aaron Jones in the passing game plenty of times, so he could end up having early on success in his fantasy career. So in the 3-7 makes tons of sense. Following that 3-8, Luke Musgrave off the board, Darnell Washington off the board, and now we are at the 3-10 here. Our friend Kyle, what direction he goes, he takes Luke Schoonemaker once again at the 3-10 in this draft here. Love that pick. Obviously, he explained that he likes him as his tight end 3 in this class. Following that, Parker Washington off the board, Brenton Strange finishing off round 3. Lots of tight ends in the You can't do that, Chips. Take that back.
And just like the Patriots, I drafted a kicker in round 4.
Take the kicker out of here.
I'm like, what color is that? I thought it was like a defensive player. I didn't know what was happening. Oh, that was funny.
So Coach Chips decides not to make a pick and picks a kicker. Can't pass up on that value, though. So
I probably would have drafted Michael Wilson, though.
All right, I like it.
And
I like it.
the reason why I would have drafted him
is I'm about to take We'll put Michael Wilson in there for you.
Go ahead, do it.
There you go. Michael Wilson's in there. There it is. Good pick.
I know they have issues. Rondon Moore doesn't usually have a clean bill of health. Kyler Murray's pretty much not going to be there for the whole first half of the season. And DeAndre Hopkins has been not shop. So like I know next year he could be in a really good situation. So I'll wait on Michael Wilson, keep him on that taxi squad and wait and see how that happens.
I like it. All right. Eric Gray goes at the 4-2. Our friend Gator Raider loves that pick there, and as I do as well. So love that pick there at the 4-2. Will Levis finally goes in round 4. Surprised not to see another quarterback off the board, but it is a 1 QB league, so maybe it's not that surprising. So, all right, Coach John. Oh, he took the quarterback as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna 4th round. I don't really love any of the players really left, so I'll take my sort of pick at Hendon Hooker, and maybe he develops into something. And if not, hopefully he gets the starting job next year and I can trade him. So, but yeah, I think at this point, I don't love the talent. So I'll take the chance that Hendon Hooker develops into a legitimate starting quarterback.
All right. I like it. All right. So at the 4-5, we have Tucker Kraft off the board here. 4-6, Doran Thompson Robinson off the board here. Obviously, he has a rushing upside as well for the New England Patriots. So I can see him why he could be drafted in a 1 QB league. Probably wouldn't do that myself, but so here in the 4-7, once again, I'm just going to continue to take my guy here, Xavier Hutchinson. I don't want to hate to repeat myself, but in the 4th round, it makes a ton of sense to get a guy who has upside to be the wide receiver 2 for a team. The team that needs to learn to pass the ball a little bit more and has a quarterback that can pass the ball very well downfield, and Xavier Hutchinson can do that, can get downfield very easily, like I've mentioned before in the last rookie draft we just did. So he's off the board.
Take Tank Dell, Kyle. Do it again. Take Tank Dell.
Off the board. Tyler Scott off the board. Our friend Kyle. Do I take Tank Dell again? That's up to you, my friend. Other players on the
He's
board
sitting there on a silver platter for you. Oh, Chris Rodriguez. Good pick, too.
He did say that quarterback if he chose to go a different direction here. He obviously went Chris Rodriguez, so off the board here. Stenson Bennett and Tyler McKee off the board here. More likely or not, you're not getting 4 of these last 4 quarterbacks taking in most of your drafts.
Yeah, DTR, Clayton Tune, Stetson Bennett, Tanner McGee, all those guys.
You're not drafting any of those guys. I guess, sleeper ADP is a little funky at times. So, yeah, but you're not drafting them in normal 1 QB leagues here. So let's talk about the first round real quick before we get out of here. How do we feel about round 1? How did that go for you guys?
Pretty standard. It went well for me. I'm happy with Jordan Addison at 1-4. The rest all makes sense. If you're going to take a stab, like Kyle said, if you're going to take a stab at quarterback, Anthony Richardson's the one to take a stab at in the first round. Yeah, it's pretty standard. Like you said, you do just kind of take that pocket of 3 quarterbacks and just slide them way down the draft, and everything just sort of slides up.
Yeah, I like the first round. Like, preferably for me, I probably would have had Mims, Rice, Mingo as like in selection for like those last 2 picks. You can't really say nothing about Anthony Richardson. He's going to be a beast.
Yeah,
at the end of the round.
Yeah, it really is just taking the top 3 quarterbacks in the Superflex, pushing them to round 2 almost, and then everyone else just jumps up in that sense there. And that's kind of what we have when we talked about Miller and A-Chain being round 1 players. We talked about Mingo possibly being a round 1 player, and that's kind of what happens in this draft here. Again, there's nothing too surprising here. Seeing Jackson Smith and Jigba go over Gibbs again, obviously I'm getting it. I get it. There's definitely concerns starting to build up in my books. I'm kind of glad I don't have any shares of Gibbs right now. So I do like that pick. Again, most of this is pretty standard in terms of the same as we talked about in Superflex. All these guys are round one potential talents. All right, round 2. How do we feel about round 2? How round 2 went?
For me personally, I didn't love it because I would have loved either Rashid Rice or Mims. But I got the bronze medal. So I'm okay there. And then Roshan, Laporta. I mean, they all Chase Brown is a little, but again, if you want to take that chance that Mixon might get cut or might not get re-signed or get traded or whatever, you want to take that chance and go for it. Otherwise, if Mixon is back, that is kind of a tough pick. But other than that, it all makes sense. All these guys, I think, have a role on their respective teams, have a chance week 1, and then it starts to get dicey in round 3 and 4. But yeah, round 2 still solid.
Would you guys spend that early pick on Michael Mayer though in a non-tight end premium league?
I wouldn't go that early.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's sticking out to me.
Yeah, that I probably would have pushed him back to like the mid to late round 2 in a non-tight end premium league. Tight end premium league, he could have gone in round 1, but yeah, probably a little early because I don't think I said this. I don't think you can set it to tight end premium in these rookie mocks anyway. So I probably would have taken him a little bit later, personal. Yeah, this round doesn't really stick out. I mean, it's just basically what we saw in the Superflex League. All these players are round 2 picks. I mean, definitely don't hate that. Again, I actually like my 4 picks. I can't lie, but yeah, nothing here really stands out in terms of, wow, that player went that early. This player went that late. The quarterbacks in this round go where they should, Young and Stroud. You could flip-flop them. You could take them later, but they probably all round 2 picks more times than not. So definitely good all around here. So let's go over the last 3 and 4 round here. Do you guys see anything that stands out to you guys? And obviously the quarterbacks, seeing them taking almost 6 of them going in the last 4 rounds is a little crazy, and I don't think you're going to get that in most 1 QB leagues. So,
yeah, that 4th round won't happen in a single QB league. Again, 3rd round is heavy tight end. So I would make note of this if we're now 2 drafts in. If you have a late 2nd, early 3rd, and you want to get a tight end, draft them. Don't wait because they're going to dry up real quick, obviously. So that's the one thing I've kind of noticed now, 2 drafts in a row, that the 3rd round was just so tight end heavy. So keep that in mind. Draft your tight end and let value fall to you later in the 3rd and 4th.
Oh, for sure, because your rookie tight end is going to depreciate like a new car off the lot. Like, as soon as you draft them, it's just basically like guys are like, yeah, I'll give you 1 round less than you, what you acquired them for. So, like, you're going to have to wait and see. So, find the best value and take it from there, just like Scott said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, there's not much difference in terms of this draft as well either. I mean, no one really stands out. Like Will Mallory going that early, that was a little of obviously like, wow, that was way too early for him. But I mean, that's outside of that, everyone kind of went. I think Parker Washington went on draft in a Superflex league, so he does sneak up into like the late 3rd at times, or 4th round. People do seem to like him in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Gray, I love Eric Gray. Game in the 4th round with the whole Saquon situation right now is a steal, I think, and it could be a situation where Saquon just says, screw it, I'm holding out. I want that contract, and if you don't give it to me, someone else probably will. So Eric Gray sitting there, I like that a lot. And then, yeah, like I said, after that, the quarterbacks in this round 4, it was pretty standard, and you should expect some kind of you should just go get the players you need. Don't always worry about need and focus on talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think we're done here tonight, guys. I mean, we went through 2 rookie drafts. This is fun. Jibs, I'll let you take the hosting duties to finish up for the night, and then we'll get out of here.
Hey, man, don't pass the buck on me like that. Even though you passed the buck, said Knicks. Haha, get it? Hey. But thank you for listening to this episode, and thanks for the people who participated in the draft. Kyle, Gator Raiders, thank you for participating. As always, you can find us on YouTube at The Fantasy Coaches. You can find us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. You can find Coach John at FTLS_JBats. You can find Coach Steve at Coach Steven P. And you can find me, I don't know,
not on Twitter.
Here on Mondays.
Don't find me.
Don't at me. But I
me.
do see what y'all say. But other than that, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back, I believe, next week. We'll talk about some of the pros and cons of these acquisitions in the rookie draft, who got better, whose situation got worse. And here, from now on, we'll be getting to redraft slowly by slowly. So thank y'all for tuning in, and have a good night.
Take care.